Your wife just turned 42, and suddenly she's different. She's scrolling through Instagram, liking photos of shirtless 25-year-olds. She's rewatching Bridgerton for the 5th time. She mentions how her co-worker's son grew up handsome. She starts going to the gym at weird hours when all the young guys are there. Then one day she tells you she's not happy and needs space to find herself. 3 months later, she's posting selfies with someone who could be your son. Let me tell you what's really happening when middle-aged women suddenly develop a taste for younger men, because it's not what they're telling themselves, and it's definitely not what they're telling you. Here's a reality check that'll sting. When a woman over 40 suddenly wants younger men, it's rarely about desire. It's about desperation. It's about looking in the mirror and seeing mortality. It's about realizing the marriage she thought would fulfill her has become a daily reminder of everything she didn't become. But instead of dealing with these feelings honestly, she constructs an elaborate fantasy where she's not aging out of relevance. She's finally free to explore. The illusion of empowerment is everywhere. Social media celebrates these women as cougars and queens, women who know what they want. But talk to these women privately after a few drinks, and you'll hear a different story. Exhaustion, humiliation, confusion. The 28-year-old who seemed so into her, he ghosted after 3 weeks. The passionate affair that made her feel alive? He was texting 4 other women the whole time. I counsel these women regularly. They come in talking about liberation and self-discovery, but within 20 minutes they're crying about feeling invisible, worthless, used. One client, 44, executive, left her husband for a 29-year-old personal trainer. 6 months later, she's in my office, broke because she funded his business ideas, alone because he left for someone his own age, and humiliated because everyone warned her. The emotional exhaustion driving this behavior is profound. After 20 years of marriage, years of feeling unseen, unappreciated, taken for granted, these women are running on empty. They're not really attracted to younger men. They're attracted to the idea of being wanted again. They're chasing a feeling, not a person. The younger man isn't a partner. He's a painkiller for midlife irrelevance. The romantic asymmetry in these relationships is brutal. She thinks they have a deep connection because he listens to her problems. He's thinking about how his friends will react when they see her. She's planning weekend getaways and meeting families. He's making sure she doesn't post photos that his buddies might see. She's falling in love. He's getting his rent paid. The divergent intentions couldn't be clearer. She wants validation that she's still desirable, still worthy of pursuit, still capable of inspiring passion. He wants the experience, the story, maybe some financial benefits, definitely the sex with someone who knows what they're doing. Neither is getting what they really need, but both pretend they're winning. I watched this play out with a neighbour. Woman in her mid-40s started dating her son's friend's older brother. Guy was maybe 27. She was glowing, posting about age being just a number, finally being appreciated. 3 months in, she's paying for his car repairs. 6 months in, she's covering his rent. 8 months in, he leaves her for a 23-year-old, and she's destroyed. The transactional dynamics flip in these relationships, and women aren't prepared for it. Suddenly, they're in the traditional male role, paying for everything, pursuing, trying to keep someone interested who has better options. They become the wallet, the provider, the one anxiously checking their phone. They experience what men have dealt with forever, and they hate it. One client spent $30,000 in 6 months on a younger boyfriend. Trips, clothes, covering his temporary unemployment. She called it supporting his dreams. He called it Tuesday. When she finally asked about their future, he said he wasn't ready for anything serious. With her money in his account and her dignity in shreds, she learned what men have always known. You can't buy genuine desire. The reality behind cougar culture is pathetic, not powerful. For every success story, there are hundreds of women sitting alone at wine bars, swiping through dating apps, lowering their age requirements, wondering why men their own age aren't interested while men half their age only want one thing. The empowerment narrative is marketing, not reality. These women go to cougar nights at clubs, surrounded by other desperate women competing for the attention of a handful of young guys who are there for easy sex or free drinks. They dress younger, act younger, try to speak younger, and end up looking older than ever. The desperation is visible from space, and everyone sees it except them. The biological and social double standard is harsh, but real. A 45-year-old man with money and status can date 25-year-olds indefinitely. A 45-year-old woman, regardless of her achievements, is fighting biology. Her fertility window is closed. Her physical prime is past. The younger men know they're doing her a favour, not the other way round. This isn't fair, but it's reality. Society celebrates George Clooney marrying someone decades younger, but mocks Madonna for dating younger men. Why? Because one follows biological imperatives and the other fights them. Men's value can increase with age through resources and status. Women's biological value, harsh but true, peaks early and declines. Pretending otherwise doesn't change the reality of human mating patterns. The entitlement paradox is stunning. These women, despite needing younger men for validation, still expect traditional courtship. They want the younger man to pursue them, plan dates, make efforts, show commitment. They can't grasp that they're not the prize anymore, they're the option. A 25-year-old with abs isn't going to court a 45-year-old like she's prime marriage material. A client complained that her younger boyfriend never took her on real dates. He'd come over, they'd have sex, maybe watch Netflix, he'd leave. She couldn't understand why he wouldn't put in effort. I had to explain, you're not his girlfriend, you're his Tuesday night. Harsh? Yes. True? Also yes. The decline of romantic compatibility becomes obvious quickly. She wants to discuss mortgage refinancing. He wants to discuss the new PlayStation. She's worried about her teenager's college applications. He's worried about his Tinder matches. She needs someone who understands perimenopause. He doesn't even know what that is. The lifestyle mismatch alone kills most of these relationships. She's in bed by 10 p.m. He's going out at 11. She wants quiet dinners. He wants clubs and parties. She has responsibilities. Kids, career, aging parents. He has none of that weight. They exist in different life stages that occasional good sex can't bridge. The financial burden and role reversal break these women. They're suddenly paying for everything, and they resent it. They wanted equality when men were paying. Now that they're paying, they understand why men complained. The dinner bills, the trips, the help with his expenses. It adds up fast when you're the only one contributing. I know a woman who paid off her younger boyfriend's student loans thinking they were building a future together. 2 months after the last payment, he left. When she asked why, he said he never saw this as serious. $40,000 she'll never see again, for a relationship that existed only in her head. The child and family barrier is insurmountable. Most women over 40 have kids, exes, complicated histories. The younger man doesn't want to play stepdad to teenagers. He doesn't want to deal with her ex-husband. He doesn't want the baggage, the drama, the responsibility. He wants fun, not a ready-made family with problems. Even if emotional connection exists, practical integration is impossible. Her kids hate him because he's closer to their age than hers. His friends mock him, unless she's paying for everyone's drinks. Family events are awkward. The age gap that seemed sexy in private becomes embarrassing in public. The narcissism and fear of aging driving this behaviour is obvious to everyone except the women involved. They're not looking for love. They're looking for proof they're not invisible. Every younger man who shows interest is evidence they've still got it. But needing constant external validation of your worth is the opposite of confidence. These women post every interaction with younger men on social media. Still got it. Age is just a number. Living my best life. The performative nature reveals the insecurity. Truly confident people don't need to advertise their desirability. The louder they proclaim their empowerment, the more desperate they actually are. The cultural and global dating discrepancies are eye-opening. Western women go to Jamaica or Mexico thinking they're exotic and desired. They're targeted by local men who see dollars, not beauty. Meanwhile, Western men of the same age are genuinely desired in many countries. The market value shift based on geography reveals uncomfortable truths about perceived worth. A client went on a self-discovery trip to Costa Rica, came back raving about the passionate Latin men who pursued her. I asked if any stayed in contact without her sending money. Silence. The passion was a business transaction she refused to recognize. The delusion versus acceptance gap is massive. These women convince themselves they're choosing younger men, taking control, being selective. In reality, men their own age aren't interested, and younger men are only available for limited, usually transactional, interactions. They're not choosing from abundance. They're taking what's available and calling it choice. The myth of choice and control falls apart under examination. When a 45-year-old woman dates a 28-year-old man, who really has the power? He has options, youth, time. She has urgency, insecurity, diminishing opportunities. She might pay for dinner, but he decides if there's a tomorrow. That's not control, that's dependency dressed as liberation. The husband-hatred phenomenon is predictable. After years of marriage, familiarity breeds contempt. He represents her aging, her mortality, her mundane reality. He knows her without makeup, has seen her at her worst, remembers when she was younger. The younger man doesn't have this history, he's a blank slate for her fantasies. She projects all her disappointments onto her husband. He's the reason she's not fulfilled. He held her back. He made her invisible. The truth? She's unhappy with herself and blaming the nearest target. The husband becomes the scapegoat for her midlife crisis, her unrealized dreams, her fear of irrelevance. I've seen women destroy good marriages chasing this illusion. Husbands who loved them, supported them, built lives with them, discarded for the fantasy of young flesh and renewed vitality. 6 months later, they're alone, the young guy has moved on, and the husband they discarded has found someone who appreciates stability. The aftermath is always the same. The younger man leaves for someone his own age. The ex-husband moves on with someone who values what he offers. The woman is left with neither, plus the social embarrassment of everyone watching her midlife crisis implode. The empowerment story becomes a cautionary tale. The social media delusion makes this worse. They see celebrities with younger men and think it's attainable. Demi Moore, J.Lo, Madonna. But these women have millions, fame, professional beauty maintenance. The average 45-year-old teacher or accountant isn't comparable, but social media makes them think they are. The wine mom to cougar pipeline is real. It starts with book clubs reading Eat, Pray, Love, progresses to girls' trips to Vegas, escalates to flirting with the trainer at the gym, and ends with devastating breakdowns when reality hits. The culture encourages this progression without warning about the destination. The manipulation younger men employ is masterful. They know exactly what these women want to hear. You're so much more sophisticated than women my age. Age doesn't matter when connection is real. You understand me like no one else. It's a script, and these women fall for it every time because they need to believe it. The sex myth needs addressing too. Yes, younger men have more stamina, but they also have less experience, less patience, less interest in their partner's satisfaction. They're getting their kicks from the novelty and the ego boost, not from genuine desire. The best sex ever these women claim to have is mostly in their heads. The biological reality is undeniable. No matter how much yoga she does, how much Botox she gets, how young she dresses, a 45-year-old body isn't a 25-year-old body. The younger man notices, he compares, he has alternatives. Pretending otherwise is delusion that leads to devastation. The friend group dynamics are revealing. When one woman in a group starts dating younger, others follow. It becomes competitive. Who can get the youngest? Who can post the most provocative photos? They egg each other on, validate each other's choices, create an echo chamber of delusion that prevents reality from penetrating until it's too late. The children's trauma from watching their mother's behaviour gets ignored. Imagine being 16 and your mum is dating someone 8 years older than you. The embarrassment, the confusion, the damage to respect and family structure. But mum's happiness and self-discovery take priority over their psychological well-being. The financial devastation many experience is staggering. Divorce settlements spent on younger boyfriends, retirement savings drained for trips and gifts, home equity loans for his business ventures. They trade long-term security for short-term validation and end up with neither. The re-entry into dating at 40 plus is brutal for women, and they're unprepared. They remember being pursued in their 20s, having options, being the selector. Now they're the pursuer, facing rejection, competing with younger women. The market dynamics have completely reversed and they can't accept it. Online dating especially destroys their self-image. They swipe on men their age who are matching with women 10 years younger. They lower their standards, expand their age range downward, and still struggle for matches. The younger men who do match want one thing, and it's not a relationship. The empowerment narrative is sold by industries that profit from female insecurity. Dating apps, cosmetic surgery, fashion, self-help books. They all benefit from telling women they can have it all at any age. It's marketing, not truth. but desperate people buy hope, not reality. The therapy industry enables this too. Instead of honest conversations about aging, acceptance, and realistic expectations, many therapists validate feelings without challenging delusions. Follow your truth, and you deserve happiness become licenses for destructive behavior that ultimately increases unhappiness. The successful older woman paradox is real. The more successful she is professionally, the smaller her dating pool becomes. She wants someone equally or more successful. But those men are dating younger women. The men available to her feel inferior, so she dates down in age instead of across in status. The fundamental mismatch is that these women want younger men to want them the way older men wanted them when they were younger. But male desire doesn't work that way. Young men might sleep with older women, but they rarely seriously date them. The commitment these women seek is exactly what younger men are avoiding. The revenge fantasy aspect can't be ignored. Some women date younger men specifically to hurt their ex-husbands, or prove they're still desirable. It's not about the younger man at all, he's a prop in their revenge play, but revenge that requires someone else's participation rarely works as planned. The cultural celebration of this behaviour is toxic. Every "you go girl" comment on social media enables further delusion. Every article about cougars reclaiming their power prevents honest self-reflection. We're cheerleading women off an emotional cliff and calling it feminism. The male perspective on this is unanimous but unspoken. Every man knows these relationships are temporary. The younger men taking advantage, the older men watching their ex-wives embarrass themselves, the same age men avoiding these women entirely. They all see the same thing, but saying it out loud is misogyny. The end game is always the same. The younger man leaves, the ex-husband has moved on, the kids are resentful, the friends who encouraged it distance themselves from the aftermath. She's left alone, older, broker, and with the added burden of public humiliation. The recovery from this is harder than regular breakups. It's not just losing a relationship, it's facing the reality you've been avoiding. You're aging, your options are limited, your value in the dating market has decreased. The younger man's departure forces confrontation with everything you were running from. The rare successful versions of these relationships require massive compromises. Usually, the woman has to accept being a permanent provider, tolerate infidelity, ignore the judgment, and essentially purchase companionship. Is that success, or just a different form of failure? Some women do find genuine connection with younger men, but it's exceptional, not typical. And even then, the relationship faces challenges that same-age relationships don't. The success stories get amplified while the failures, which are the vast majority, get ignored. The advice I give these women is harsh but necessary. Stop running from aging, stop competing with younger women, stop expecting validation from men who see you as temporary entertainment. Accept your age, appreciate what you have, and either work on your marriage or find age-appropriate partners who value what you actually offer. The husband they're suddenly hating might not be perfect, but he's real. He's stayed through aging, weight gain, mood swings, life changes. The younger man will leave at the first sign of difficulty. Trading permanent for temporary because temporary is exciting is the decision of a child, not a grown woman. The biological clock isn't just about babies, it's about pair bonding, family formation, life stages. Fighting it because magazines say you can is like fighting gravity because self-help books say you can fly. Reality always wins, and the longer you deny it, the harder you hit the ground. The truth is, women over 40 dating significantly younger men aren't empowered. They're afraid. Afraid of aging, afraid of irrelevance, afraid of facing who they've become. The younger man isn't a solution. He's a distraction from problems that will only grow worse with avoidance. If you're a woman over 40 feeling this pull toward younger men, ask yourself, am I running towards something or away from something? Am I building something real or avoiding something real? Am I choosing from abundance or grasping from scarcity? If you're a man watching your wife go through this, understand it's not about you. It's about her terror of aging and irrelevance. You can't fix her crisis, but you don't have to enable it either. Set boundaries, protect your assets, and prepare for either recovery or separation. The cultural lie that age is just a number has destroyed more marriages than infidelity ever did. Age matters. Biology matters. Life stages matter. Pretending otherwise because it feels empowering is like pretending debt doesn't matter because spending feels good. The women who navigate midlife successfully are those who accept reality while maintaining hope. They work with what is, not what they wish was. They find meaning beyond male validation. They understand that wisdom and experience are their actual strengths, not competing with 25-year-olds for male attention. The younger man fantasy will end. The husband hatred will either destroy the marriage or fade into acceptance. The midlife crisis will pass. The question is, how much damage will be done in the process? How much money spent? How many relationships destroyed? How much dignity lost? The internal conflict these women experience is intense. Part of them knows the younger man's situation is temporary, unsustainable, even embarrassing. But the dopamine hit from his attention, the social media validation, the escape from reality, it's addictive. They're literally choosing short-term neurochemical rewards over long-term life stability. The workplace dynamics add another layer. Many of these affairs start at work, where the older woman has authority or status. She mistakes professional deference for personal attraction. The younger male colleague who laughs at her jokes and compliments her ideas, he's managing up, not flirting. But lonely women see what they need to see. The gym phenomenon is particularly transparent. Women who haven't exercised in years suddenly become fitness fanatics when they hit midlife crisis. Not for health, for access to young male bodies. They hire young personal trainers, join CrossFit boxes full of 20-somethings, take hot yoga classes at times when young men attend. The desperation is obvious to everyone except them. The vacation romance delusion deserves special mention. These women go on solo trips to tropical destinations and get attention from local young men who see Western currency, not Eastern beauty. They come back thinking they're internationally desirable. They don't realise they were targeted as marks, not chosen as mates. The romance ends when the Western Union transfers stop. The social media validation loop becomes destructive. Every like on a photo with a younger man feeds the addiction. Every comment saying you look so happy reinforces the delusion. They become dependent on this external validation, posting increasingly desperate content for diminishing returns. The crash when the attention stops is devastating. The friendship casualties mount quickly. Long-term friends who try to warn them are cut off as jealous or unsupportive. New friends are chosen based on enabling the fantasy. They surround themselves with other women in similar situations, creating an echo chamber of mutual delusion. When reality hits, these fair-weather friends disappear. The professional consequences often go unmentioned. Women who've built decades of professional reputation destroy it chasing younger men, showing up to work events with obviously younger boyfriends, posting inappropriate content on LinkedIn, making poor business decisions while distracted by drama. The career they spent 20 years building crumbles in 20 weeks. I want to hear from men who've watched their wives go through this transformation. What triggered it? How did it manifest? How did it end? And from women who've lived through it, what made you wake up? Drop your experiences in the comments. Let's have an honest conversation about what's really happening in midlife marriages, because the empowerment narrative is killing real relationships for temporary fantasies.